Hi everyone, this is Erica. I'm the manager of Sunset Strings, and this is my husband.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm one of the violinists.
We created this video to help you decide when during the ceremony you would like to have a musician perform. Some of our clients just aren't sure, especially if they haven't attended a lot of weddings before, so they're really not sure what's typical. So I'm going to walk you through a typical wedding ceremony pattern, and then Dan will play a couple of pieces for each portion of the wedding ceremony so you can get a good feel of how that would sound. Keep in mind that you ultimately design your own wedding ceremony, so if you're looking for something different, that's totally fine. This is just going to be a typical ceremony pattern that most weddings fall within, so let's get started.
Okay.
The first music that your musicians will perform during the ceremony is the prelude music. So this is the music that happens before the ceremony even begins. If you hire your musicians for an hour, you get about half an hour of prelude music if your ceremony itself will be expected to last about half an hour. If you have a longer ceremony, like 45 minutes, that means you get 15 minutes of prelude music. So this is what your guests first hear as they enter. Some guests do like to mingle and chat with other people before the ceremony, but actually a lot of them will want to sit down as soon as they arrive. So that includes older guests, people who can't stand very long, or just people who want to get a really good seat. So it is a good idea to have music playing in the background so that they have something to enjoy in case they're waiting quite a bit for the ceremony to begin. So the style of music that we typically play during the prelude is not quite as lively as what we would play during cocktail hour or during the reception. At this point, waiting for your ceremony to begin, your guests are preparing to witness basically the most important event of your life so far. So they can be a little bit emotional, especially if they're a very close family member or friend. Think moms and grandmas. So we like to keep the music kind of light, calm, and pretty. So Dan, what would be a good classical piece for prelude music?
Well, something like The Trumpet Voluntary by Clark.
And what about a pop song?
Well, something like All of Me by John Legend.
So this music is in the background. It's not trying to steal the show, but it is providing a really nice atmosphere for your guests as they arrive. It's working with the setting of your ceremony and also with all of the decor and the flowers to kind of give that first impression you want your guests to have of what your ceremony is going to be like and who you guys are as a couple. So that's the prelude section. The next part of the wedding is the processionals. So this is when everyone processes or walks down the aisle and up to the front of the ceremony site, whether that's an altar or what have you. Usually the groom is already there waiting, so the first people to walk are typically the parents, followed by the wedding party, and then last would be a ring bearer or flower girls if you have those in your wedding. The music that we play during the processionals is usually something that has a little bit of a beat or a rhythm to it because people are walking in. So Dan, what would be a good classical piece for processionals?
Well, I like to play Spring by Vivaldi.
And your musicians will naturally play the processionals just a little bit louder than they played the prelude music. That's so everyone kind of perks up and realizes the processionals have started and that your ceremony is beginning. What about pop music fans? What's a good pop music song for processionals?
A very good song is I Won't Give Up.
That's a Jason Mraz song, right?
Yes, it is.
That's a good one. So that's processionals. And next we have the main event, the bride's entrance. So a lot of our brides like to do special song requests for other parts of the wedding. She might have an unusual song or favorite song, but when it comes to the bride's walk, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be one of only 3 songs for most brides. And those songs are classics for a reason. They sound beautiful to walk down the aisle to. So, Dan, what are the two most popular classical music songs that the bride will choose for herself?
The most popular is definitely the Canon in D by Pachelbel. And the second one is Wagner's Wedding March, which is also known as the Here Comes the Bride.
What about a pop song?
A very good one is Christina Perri's A Thousand Years.
So, Dan, tell me as a musician, what do you do if the bride has a really short aisle or she's in a rush and she just sprints down it and she only takes about 15 seconds? What do you do with that 3-minute song? Do you keep playing it and everyone just stands there and waits?
This is usually what happens. We only play for about 10 to 15 seconds of a song, and as soon as the bride arrives, we will land on a beautiful chord or fade out, and it will feel like an arrival.
What do you do if you have the opposite problem? What if the bride has a really, really long aisle to walk down and your 3-minute pop song is over? What do you do? Is there an awkward silence until she gets to the front?
Well, no, of course not. We will decide beforehand where to loop the song. We will mark in repeat signs, and so it's going to sound beautiful, and we can loop the song for as long as needed until the bride arrives.
All right, well, those are the 3 most popular songs for the bride's entrance. Once the bride arrives, there's usually no more music during the ceremony until the end of the ceremony. And that's because the officiant takes over, and you want to make sure your guests can hear your officiant and can hear you guys when you're exchanging your vows. The only exception is really when people have sort of a silent portion to their ceremony. It might be a unity candle, it might be a sand ceremony. We've seen wine ceremonies where usually the officiant kind of explains what the bride and groom are doing with these items, but then there's a silence as they're actually lighting the candles or doing the sand. And so then you could have a musician playing something in the background to kind of keep the flow of the ceremony going. What style of music would you play, Dan, if you're asked to play during the middle of the ceremony like that?
We would play something short and sweet and soft, something like The Meditation by Massenet.
And what if the couple would like a pop song during the ceremony?
A very good option is Elvis's hit, Can't Help Falling in Love.
And then at the end of the sand ceremony or the unity candle, the musician again would just softly fade that music out. It would be back to the officiant, back to your vows until the end of the ceremony. The last song that the musician will perform during the ceremony is the recessional or the exit music. This is what they play right after the big kiss when the bride and groom head back down the aisle. So for most brides and grooms, this is really one of the most memorable moments of your wedding. You were just pronounced husband and wife. So we keep the music very joyful, triumphant, exciting. It's basically a celebration. So Dan, what's a good classical piece for the recessional music?
Well, number one choice is definitely The Wedding March by Mendelssohn.
And what's a good pop song?
I really like This Will Be an Everlasting Love by Natalie Cole.
after the bride and groom go back up the aisle, their wedding party follows them and usually does some pictures, and then all of your guests will head out to cocktail hour. So that's the recessional music. We've taken you through the parts of a wedding ceremony, from the prelude to the processionals, the bride's entrance, the ceremony itself, and the recessional. So hopefully this gives you a clearer idea of what you'd like the music to sound like on your wedding day. So thanks for playing, Dan.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.